Stockholm's beautiful. I've had a wonderful morning. I'm going to give you a little presentation for 20 minutes, and I hope it's helpful.
These days it's not the big who beat the small anymore. It's those who choose to build a dream, to wake and give it all. It's not by accident or chance, those who do succeed. And it's no coincidence who they choose on their team. Better off, let's get started. Better off on the course you've charted. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better off. Better off, let's get started. Better off on the course you've charted. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better off. It's not the marble in your reception or the fine art on the wall. It's those who choose to walk the walk with clarity of thought, with vigilance and principle, those who truly lead. And it's no coincidence who they choose on their team. Better off, let's get started. Better off on the course you charted. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better off. Better off, let's get started. Better off on the course you charted. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better off. You're better off with us. We love what we do, so it all adds up. We'll be there with you to see your vision through. Better off, let's get started. Better off from the course you've charted. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better off, Kelly+Partners. Better off, let's get started. Better off on the course you've charted. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better charted, Kelly+Partners. Better off, get started. Better off, oh man, man, man. Better off with Kelly+Partners. Better off with Kelly+Partners.
It's amazing to be part of a business where you can start with a song that was written by one of your partners and produced by them for our team. A number of years ago, one of the partners came to me and he said, "Brett, I've got this idea to write a song." And one of the leading bands in Australia, Noiseworks, a songwriter's a friend of his, and he said, "We could make a song and do it for our team." And all I had to do was say, "Sounds like a great idea. What do you need?" Joel said, "I need $5,000. I said, "I think we can help you with that." And he produced that song and had the gentleman who was the lead singer of the Little River Band, which was Australia's most successful rock export to the US in the 70s, sing that song for our team. The reason I wanted to share that video, it's a great story about our people doing what they do. And what I'm most pleased with is the quality of the people that we've attracted to the mission of making the accounting industry actually do what it always promised to do for its people and its clients, what we call make people better off. Now, the trusted part or the trusted position that an accountant holds in a financial ecosystem is unmatched. But so often the accountants sitting there, they just don't do very much. They haven't realized the noble mission that's possible. If you're there, you're right there. You might as well do the most you can to help that client achieve their goals. So having suffered through being a young accountant from 18 to 29, when my boss made me an offer that was different to what was promised, and certainly something that I could refuse, I went home to my wife and I said, "What do you think we should do?" And she said, "Brett, just start a firm like you've started for your mate Scott and make the industry better." And that's what we've done. We've taken an approach that says, if we didn't look at accounting firms, but instead we looked at the best businesses in the world, what would be possible with an accounting firm? And so we just looked at non-accounting businesses. Those great businesses included business like McDonald's and Walmart and Apple and Four Seasons and these types of places, and said, what would happen if an accounting firm was a bit more like that and a little less like what we typically see? So where I'd love to start is that we've built a business system that's capable of doubling itself consistently. We've doubled the business every 3.2 years on average, 6 times in a row over the last 20 years. It'll be 20 years in June. And the reason I share that is not because I think it's awesome, which I do think it is. However, the reason it's awesome is because it's based on a system that has developed a flywheel and is really doing that by virtue of that system that we've built. What's even more exciting is that the business has been incredibly capital light. We've raised a total of 17 million Australian dollars over 20 years to build a business that is on track to, on a group basis next year, produce about 50 million of EBITDA. So the book value has been compounded at nearly 35%, which is my goal, for nearly 20 years. So we'll see how we go. And the reason I share those two screens up front is that the combination of deep operations expertise in a small circle of competence, an industry that we understand, that we don't think's going anywhere soon, and that has huge demand and a huge runway, combined with an investor's mindset, we think is likely to continue to produce really great results for our shareholders. Now, the company went public on the ASX in June 2007, has been listed for 8 years, and has done sort of 8 to 10 times initial investors' money during that period. Where are we now? Revenue CAGR over 20 years is 30%. We've got 45.274957 shares on issue, 164 million Australian dollars revenue run rate in 43 locations with 25,000 clients groups served. We know that because of the deep purpose of the business and the clarity of our investment thesis, our offering to private clients with complex needs only, with less than 5% audit revenue, and a proven model and clear strategic execution, that these results are not an accident and are likely to continue. To emphasize, 3 parts, I guess, across the screen is that we believe that if we had people with a clarity of values, people for others, who keep their promises and play as part of a team, that they would be very different to what you typically find in an accounting firm. In an accounting firm, you typically find people that are excellent technically and very impressed with those technical skills. We want to have people that are very good technically and are very keen to share those skills for the benefits of their clients. In terms of the offering and market positioning, our focus has always been to manage the tax exposure of our complex private client groups, because we've never met anyone that likes to pay more tax. And given, frankly, the aggressive nature of tax systems across the developed world, we think that demand for this assistance is likely to continue to grow very strongly. And we're trying to build out Australia's global accounting firm, a global platform for what is the most mobile population in the world across markets where Australians typically hang out. In terms of the model, we developed and invented this partner-owner-driver model, which is a 51-49 ownership model. It works really well because operationally, when we buy into a business, we double their profits so that the partners earn at least what they earned in the past, but they get a 45-person central management team that they pay a fee for to take away everything that they don't like doing, which is really everything other than looking after their people and the clients. So they effectively end up with a managed business that they can focus on their professional practice of being an accountant and being a leader of their people. We've developed significant programmatic acquisition expertise across 95 deals. We're operating 35 locations. We've done, very similar structured deals over and over again in our public disclosures of that since 2017 would make that obvious to a keen observer. Our outsiders-inspired capital allocation. I saw Will Thorndike earlier this morning, and I hope everyone got to see his interview because I was in meetings, so I didn't. But I'm sure it was excellent with Chris. But we look at the outsiders methodology. Right back from the beginning, I studied and worked in an EVA practice, looking at Rappaport's creating shareholder value, and have been very, very focused on, a very efficient use of equity capital. In terms of really growing and clear advantages for the business, clear mission and values is really different in our industry. From the Big Four down, obviously in Australia and other places, it's become more obvious that many of these firms don't really operate with the values that are likely to attract the next generation of talent. In terms of permanent capital, we are one of only two listed companies of any scale in the world in our industry that we think has a structure that's likely to be excellent for the next 100 years. We don't think the Big Four would ever be able to agree between each other as to whether they should go public, and we don't think they could be public because they couldn't publicly expose their behaviour. That was deadpan. But we actually believe that being a publicly held permanent capital vehicle is likely to be an enormous advantage over the next 50 years. Our partner-owner-driver model does a very interesting job and a very effective job at aligning interests in a way that is different and that we haven't seen achieved in a professional services context. Our central services team is now very, very developed, has been operating for 20 years, has many senior team members that have been in that team for more than 10 years, and really does add value to these smaller accounting businesses that we buy into. Our target business has 2 to 10 million of revenue. These businesses are micro businesses. They don't have the capacity to have a management team. And if they imagine that they do, it's not generally a very capable team. And so, on a scaled basis, essentially fractionalized, we can do a great job of that for people. And then this singular focus for now 20 years has given us real depth in looking after privately held family groups that have significant and complex needs, and obviously a very low churn rate and those other good things. In terms of the future, this is what we're trying to execute. Essentially, we're building out our proprietary AI platform. We have one IT network, essentially one IT stack, which is very, very unusual. And over the top of the data consolidation, we're trying to build our own Kelly+Partners GPT that will allow us to build information-based products for our clients. And there's huge demand for that. Our analysis is that the 82 things that an accountant should do for their private client, on average they do 8, and the reason that they don't do more is there's not the time or workforce capacity, let alone the budget to do those things. We think we can use technology to do a lot of that and get paid very well for it. The second pillar of what we're trying to push forward with is to accelerate acquisitions on a global basis, which is going very well. We expect that upon a global listing, meaning that we will move our listing from the ASX somewhere. We can't say where, but we expect that the company won't become less valuable. And as more people can see the long track record of what we've achieved and continue to achieve, we think we can build out complementary services to be at least the size of the existing business, and that we can work on institutional trust in terms of governance and succession. So that's the sort of the future. Really, I'm trying to share past, present, and future. We think the business will grow, but we don't like to say too much beyond that. This is the past. We IPO'd at 30 million revenue in 2017. Today our run rate's 164 over 8 years, so we've taken revenue up 5 times in 8 years. We think we can grow revenue in the future. We think we can hold our margins, and we think that the business is probably quite valuable. Fundamentally, we believe that mindset is the most important thing in life and business. I often get teased for having heroes, but I feel that your life's impoverished if you don't, and that you ultimately become who you celebrate. our business has been just built shamelessly off the great ideas of others, a permanent capital vehicle based on the Berkshire model. It's not that complex to understand the benefit of permanent capital. We believe that our capital has a velocity that matches the pace of our industry. We see a lot of PE activity in the US where the velocity of the capital is at a rate that the actual industry and the underlying businesses cannot operate at, let alone change and improve at. So we see that as a huge advantage. One of my favourite all-time business people is David Ogilvy. He really, in my view, invented branded professional services, but did that in the advertising space. Obviously, you've got the big four accounting firms that are branded professional services, but less effectively branded than something like Ogilvy. We think we can build a branded professional services offering on a global basis. I love Bernard Arnault because he recognised that these old, apparently run-down businesses with some tender loving care and excellent management could be modernised and grown, and that's the way we see accounting firms. When we buy into an accounting firm in a secondary market that's been founder-led, it's been around for 40 years, it has a very unique franchise. And if it's well looked after and it's internally invested in to give it better technology and a better way of interfacing with its people and its clients, I think we've proven that there might be some good community service in that, and there may well be a financial return. And then our bearded friend and his excellence in programmatic acquisition should be an inspiration to us all. We made an equation out of that for those people that love mathematics, and really all I've shown there is the books. I'm an inveterate reader, and the books that led me to understand what we've executed in the business started with Philip Fisher's of Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits, which led me to Buffett, which led me to Hagstrom's book, which qualified me to work as an undergraduate in the EVA group at Pricewaterhouse. I was unqualified, but there it is. But that led me to value-based management and knowing that if you could get a return above the weighted average cost of capital out of your activity, that wouldn't be such a bad idea. I lost a job at 22. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was an advisor in an investment bank, and it taught me that I wanted to do my own principal-based deals. I didn't have any capital, so I had to invent some. So I did that through the process of these little micro LBOs. And then obviously we discovered the outsiders, which gave us a checklist, which confirmed some of our previous study. We genuinely believe that ideas lead to actions, actions lead to habits, and habits are your destiny. And we think over 20 years we've proved that the good ideas that we've come across, we've executed with some vigour. I'd like to finish by sharing a photo of our great people. I have the incredible privilege of leading and presenting to people the quality of our people who operate in teams and deliver every day for each other and their clients and make a really positive impact in the communities that they're operating in. And I'm just here today as a representative of that group of people. The great news is that we are in an industry, as Buffett would say, choose a tiny thing to step over. We're trying to be a little bit more enthusiastic than the average accountant, be a little bit more innovative than the average accountant, adopt technology a little bit better than the average accountant or accounting firm. The bar is so low, the industry is so miserably led that you couldn't do it worse. So the opportunity is enormous. I've just shared that with a polite and amount of passion, but I was a young guy stuck in these miserable hellhole of firms that you wouldn't recommend to your dogs, let alone your kids. And the fact is that it is an enormous industry with a huge requirement to change, and we have the drive and passion to build what we think can be a positive force for good in our industry. So I hope that's been the most fun you've spent with an accountant recently, and you've got the sense that we might be able to engage people, motivate them, and unlock their own internal enthusiasm to bring to work every day. Thanks very much.
That's so quick, Thank you so much, Brett. We only have a short time left, but let's do a couple.
We have no time, but no problem.
We received a couple in advance from investors, and let's get one out of the way. AI The question was specifically, when is AI going to replace accountants? But maybe let's do a little bit more broadly.
So AI will replace accountants when my office becomes paperless.
All right, perfect. You also, I believe, have an authorization for a buyback program. When you look at capital allocation, either buying additional companies versus buying your own share, can you elaborate on how you think there?
Yeah, so we know the most about our own company. The most risk-free trade always for us is to buy our own stock, but the most responsible use for our capital right now is to continue to buy excellent businesses on the right price and terms. We believe being a public company is just inherently good for all of our stakeholders. It's like free management consulting. We get to meet amazing people that improve our business. And so we're very determined to stay a public company. Although at these prices, if you were someone like me, you'd be very prepared to buy all of the shares. Not that I'll do that. I've got a number of our great shareholders in the room, and I've given them my undertaking that we intend to stay a public company forever.
Got it. Just as a reminder, if you have any questions, just put up your hand. But you pointed out that you've expanded internationally. Can you talk a little bit about both cultural differences and maybe also regulatory differences? How difficult or easy is it to go into new geographies?
So we think it's extremely difficult to get into the US. We're the only Australian firm that has ever owned an equity interest in an American accounting firm. It would be very easy to go to the UK, it'd be very easy to go to Canada, very difficult to go to the US. And that's one of the reasons we've pursued it. We think it's a huge opportunity. There's loads of Australian businesses and Australians there. Our largest expatriate population is in London, followed by New York and LA. I'm incredibly proud of the business that we've pulled together now in the US. It's actually larger than the business we listed in 2017. However, it's been extraordinarily difficult. You'd have to be as crazy as I am to undertake that, which I believe is a huge barrier to entry, because I'm not sure there'll be another Australian as crazy as me in our industry. That said, we think it's the source of 100 years of competitive advantage. The cultural differences are not as pronounced as people would imagine. If you do the 3 psych tests we use on accountants, we've psych tested our Australian partners, US partners, UK accountants. By the way, psychologically, they all look the same, exactly the same. So that's the good news. Their self-perception of their difference might be, different, but frankly, the good leading and management of people is pretty universal. So I'm confident that there's huge opportunity for us anywhere we can find people that share our values and have a firm that's in the private client space that actually want to do things differently and better.
Perfect. Let's round off with this one. At least in Sweden, leaving minorities to management has become increasingly popular. But usually it's like 10-20%. I haven't seen anyone going as far as your model in terms of 49%. Can you elaborate a little bit on your reasoning around how you ended up at that model, why you think it's optimal?
Yeah, so I got into this business because I worked with a gentleman who was sort of in an equal position in a firm that I was also a senior manager in. And when he was in a difficult situation, he rang me and said, "Can you help me?" And I helped him start a firm. And he said to me, "Brett, you run the business, I'll run the clients. You have 75%, I'll have 25%. I ran the numbers, and I went straight back to him. And Scotty still runs one of our firms, and is our original first partner. And I said, "Scott, it's not going to work. It needs to be a 51-49. And the reason is, I'm confident I can make the firm, under the system that we will build together, twice as profitable as a typical accounting firm." So typical accounting firms self-reported doing 18% EBITDA across Australia, the US, UK. It's self-reported, so it's overstated. Call it 15, maybe less. If it was a public company, it might be 12. But it was very interesting. I said to him, "Scotty, if we can double the profits of a firm, plus add enormous capability, give you time back, then effectively you're earning as much or more as you used to earn. We tidy up your cash flow so you get better cash flow each month. That will work." And so that's really at the heart of the better off idea. We could buy 80%, 70%, 30%. We might be able to get away with all sorts of deals in the short term, But I want to do deals that over time the partners go, you know, Brett could have done a much harder, sharper deal on me than he did, and this deal's getting better and better for me every year. So at the heart of our deal is 51.49 works because we double their profits after we buy in, so we know they're going to make the same or more. If people are doing 100%, it's hard to do alignment. If you're doing 70%, I don't think you can. You might be a better manager than me and somebody that can better operationally improve the performance of that underlying business. I'm not sure that's true. And we weren't trying to end up with all of the pie. We just believed that if we continue to add really strong people to the business, then they would grow the business, and they've done that. And they continue to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.